This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
And we are ready for a very busy Sunday. It's a hectic Sunday in the National Hockey League. Enjoy it while you can, because the frequency of games will start going down significantly in the days ahead. That's because, it's time for a little vacation through half the year. So a bunch of teams are saying, see ya. We'll take a week off. We'll get into more about the bye weeks coming up. Dave Isaac will join us. He covers the Philadelphia Flyers for the Courier-Post. Philadelphia rolled up a 6-3 victory over the St. Louis Blues on Saturday. It is the Flyers hosting the Buffalo Sabres on Sunday. We will get the latest from Dave. Jim Diamond covers the Nashville Predators. He will talk to us about a Preds victory last night on the left coast, 4-3 over the Los Angeles Kings. Sarah McLellan with the latest on the Minnesota Wild. She covers the Wild for the Star Tribune. And we'll have the latest. Minnesota, they got walloped last night on Saturday night by the Colorado Avalanche, and I'm a little concerned about Devan Dubnyk. He seems to be getting a little frustrated at times. Now, last night, understandably slow. They got hammered. 7-2 was the final. But he doesn't seem to be quite himself. So we'll ask Sarah about that and much more. Chris Peters covers the National Hockey League for ESPN.com. He will be with us. And of course, it is Sunday, and that means a little help for you in your fantasy hockey pool with the managing editor of DauberHockey.com, Stephen Laidlaw, will be with us with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you in the fantasy hockey pool. I'm not having a good year. We're at the midway point of the season. I'm not having a good year. I don't know how much better it's going to get in the second half, but sometimes it's just one of those seasons, and you have to understand and deal with it. But we're moving through January. It's the first Sunday of the new year. We're looking at the standings. You have a look at them, and you say, man, this is a lot different than what I was expecting when the National Hockey League 2017-18 season opened in the first week of October. This is not what I was expecting to see as we started to roll through January, past the halfway point of the season, and now with an eye towards the end of the NHL regular season. A lot of things that you can expect in the coming week, a lot of bombarding what's gone right, what's gone wrong with teams, all kinds of stories about what to expect in the back half of the season. There's a few things that are easily predictable. There will also be lots more trade talk, and I mean, it's only 7 weeks away, so we got to start cranking that up. But there are some interesting observations that you can make as we do a snapshot of the standings in the National Hockey League as we wake up on January the 7th. Past halfway, so this is more than a substantial sample. But there's a lot of stunning things that you will glean from the National Hockey League standings. And these stats from the NHL PR department, 8 teams that were not part of the Stanley Cup playoffs this past spring are in a playoff position as you wake up on January the 7th. That's half of them. That's a 50% flip. In the East, it's the Lightning, the Devils, the Hurricanes, and in the West, Golden Knights, Jets, Kings, Stars, Avs all wake up in the playoffs. That's remarkable. Last season, 7 teams that made the playoffs after not qualifying for the 15-16. 7 teams made the playoffs after not qualifying in 15-16. There has been a playoff turnover of at least 5 clubs in 10 of the past 12 seasons, those from the NHL PR. That's a significant turnover. That's dramatic. It's amazing. Think about this. Avs were last in the Western Conference a year ago. They are in the playoff picture this morning. New Jersey, bottom of the East. They are fighting for top spot in the Metro Division this year. Las Vegas and the franchise for the Vegas Golden Knights didn't exist a year ago. Best in the West. That's an extraordinary amount of turnover. That's absolutely remarkable that we're seeing this halfway through the season. Now, it's it's not necessarily a guarantee that this is what we're going to see 3 months from now when the NHL regular season is coming to a conclusion. Is this the kind of truly competitive balance, the phrase we hear so often from those in the National Hockey League, that we're looking for? Is this what we want? Is this exactly the way it should be? Is this the way it is being designed, the system of salary cap and that sort of structure? Is this what it is designed to bring us? Competitive balance where any team can win on any given night. Maybe. We might be close to it. But the thing not to lose sight of in all this, even with this remarkable turnover, potentially half the teams different in the postseason than we saw a year ago. The thing not to lose sight of, though, is that these teams have done a lot of work in the last few seasons. The change of getting into the playoffs happens, but there is a lot of work that takes a lot of time leading up to that. Maybe what we get is dramatic change when it does happen, as opposed to the door easing open slowly. It is being kicked open by a whole bunch of teams. That's okay. I'm good with it. Big change, big difference. It's good. I'm quite okay with it. I was really kind of excited for the games on Saturday. A lot of good action. A lot of good matchups, a lot of interesting things. I was a little surprised that we had such a bunch of games that one team took over, they dominated the other. That happened in the afternoon. It continued on Saturday night. One of the most overwhelming performances, one of the teams I just mentioned, the Colorado Avalanche, that 7-2 victory over the Minnesota Wild. 5th straight win for the Avs, sitting in a playoff spot. It's a wild card spot in the West. Maybe Joe Sakic does know what he's doing. Nathan McKinnon was great. Had a goal and 2 assists. Mikko Rantanen got his 15th goal of the year. Tyson Jost had a goal late in the game. There's more good young players coming. There's more good young players coming. Samuel Girard was great. He was the defenseman acquired in the Duchesne deal. Good for you, Colorado. Good for you. It's a nice story. What a turnaround after last year, after that dismal, awful season a year ago for the Colorado Avalanche. What a nice turnaround it is. Prior to the game as well, the Colorado Avalanche retired number 23 from Milan Hajduk, had a great career with the Avs. That was very nice. But there were a lot of teams that were really dominant in their games yesterday, rolling up big leads and cruising on to victories. The scariest sight, though, for an opponent in the National Hockey League might be seeing the line of Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn, and Alex Radulov coming over the boards. They are frightening to watch if you're the opponent. That's what the Edmonton Oilers had to witness Saturday in Dallas. Those three put on an exhilarating display. That first period, with that line reassembled by Coach Ken Hitchcock, it was something to watch. I mean, they were just all over the Edmonton Oilers. Each of the three had a goal in the first period. And not just, it's a goal. It was a goal of hard work, great play, great skill. Each one absolutely overwhelmed the opposition. They were both thrilling and frightening to watch at the same time. Thrilling if you're a fan and looking to see great hockey and incredible talent on display. Frightening if you're the opponent that has to try to defend that. Now, part of this was because the Edmonton Oilers were so stinky yesterday. But I think it could be a legitimate strategy for Stars head coach Ken Hitchcock. Put this line together, throw them out, and let them start the game, and let them dominate and play the way they did yesterday. They ran wild over the opposition. Put them out, let them go. I'm not saying they're going to get 3 goals every game, because they're not going to have an opponent like the flaccid Edmonton Oilers were on Saturday. But if they get a goal, possibly two in the first period, how is that not a winning strategy? Put them out. Let them run wild. Let them go crazy. It was fun to watch. It was frightening if you're an Oiler fan, but it was fun to watch. They were just so determined. They were not going to be denied. As for the Oilers, well, I mentioned that they didn't really put up much of a fight in this game. Cam Talbot got chased. Yeah, welcome to Edmonton, Al Montoya. We're throwing you out in this game. He got the call in the second period. Yeah, go in and look after the goal for a while. We saw the disappointing Edmonton Oilers show up, which we have seen so frequently this year. Not the Edmonton Oilers team that won a few games going into the break, but the lousy Edmonton Oilers team that we've seen far too often. Bob Nicholson and Wayne Gretzky of the Oilers management group were at the game yesterday. Edmonton's got a few more road games on this trip. And the story being pushed to the forefront last night is that, they could be reaching the breaking point in Edmonton. Something could happen, and some move might be made. I don't know if it's going to be the right move or not. I don't know if it's going to be the right something. But clearly there seems to be a change that should be made. If dramatic change in fortune can occur in a positive way like it did for the Oilers last year, I guess you also have to accept that dramatic change in a negative sort of way, fall back to earth sort of way can occur as well as it has for the Edmonton Oilers this year. There's going to be a whole bunch of what's wrong with the Oilers, what mistakes were made, what happened. Players had career years last year. Some players were overrated because of it. Some players were given contracts because of it. Those players are coming back to reality this year. There's some work to be done in Edmonton. They've got players who are declining in talent and ability and have contracts for years to come that are going to be a burden to this franchise moving forward. There's some choices and some decisions that need to be made by the Edmonton Oilers. I don't think they involve coaching at all. It involves players and talent evaluation on that roster. Good point from the Oilers broadcast yesterday as I was watching. I went back and forth between Dallas and the Edmonton Oilers home broadcast. Drew Remenda, who's a really good analyst for the Oilers on their broadcast, showed Oscar Klefbom playing a 2-on-1 perfectly, the way you're supposed to do it, breaking up a play by the Dallas Stars, which didn't happen often enough in the game. The job of the defenseman on the 2-on-1, take away the pass option. That's the simple part. Take away the pass. That's what you're supposed to do. So Drew Remenda illustrates through his replay a really nice job by Oscar Klefbom doing it. And good for him for also talking on the first goal that Chris Russell did a poor job of that. He looked like he was as uncomfortable as you could be trying to play that 2-on-1, and they schooled him. Drew Remenda didn't rip him, didn't go overboard about it, but he said he didn't play it well. You can do it better. Here's an example of how. If more home team TV broadcasts were this honest in their presentation, it would be a good thing for the league, be a good thing for all teams. Much better than being total cheerleaders. It was nice. It was a nice change to see. Whole bunch of other games and stories from yesterday to get into. NHL is just announcing the all-star coaches. John Cooper, Peter Laviolette, Barry Trotz, and Gerard Gallant will be the coaches of the 4 all-star teams. A few thoughts on All-Star Weekend coming up a little bit later on in the show. The uniforms were released. The captains were announced a couple of days ago. The rest of the rosters are coming up later on. A few thoughts on All-Star and a few other things as well. We're getting into the NHL bye weeks. Some thoughts on the schedule and that all coming up. And plenty to get to this hour. Sarah McLellan with the latest on the Minnesota Wild. Jim Diamond talking about the Nashville Predators and a big victory last night in L.A. In our next segment, Dave Isaac from the Courier-Post with the Philadelphia Flyers story. A win yesterday, looking for another one today as they host the Buffalo Sabres. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. We're here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com and streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app powered by Primetime Radio. We'll talk Philadelphia Flyers when we come back.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit novaproductdesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, Sunday edition, here Saturdays and Sundays, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. A super busy program loaded with guests for the balance of the hour. Sarah McLellan with the latest on the Minnesota Wild, Jim Diamond talking about the Nashville Predators, and happy to welcome back our friend from the Courier Post who covers the Philadelphia Flyers. Follow him on Twitter, at Dave G. Isaac. Dave Isaac joins us on the phone now. Dave, this is about as good a way for the Philadelphia Flyers to go into the break. They've won a couple of games, another victory against the Buffalo Sabres, certainly a winnable game. Gives them 3 in a row as they head into the mandated 5-day break.
Yeah, and if you've been watching the Flyers recently, it sounds strange, but yesterday against St. Louis, between yesterday against St. Louis and today against Buffalo, Buffalo seems like the bigger test just because of how inconsistent the Flyers have been, both in stringing good performances together and in terms of playing down to their competition. So I think everybody's kind of watching to see if they still have it here 24 hours after beating a pretty good St. Louis team and going into that bye week. This is a team that, at least in interview settings, doesn't look past what's coming down the road, even the break, not even necessarily the opponent that comes after it. But the Flyers have had a lot of trouble with the Buffalo Sabres. So I would feel a little bit more confident in saying that they're going into the break strong if they came out of here with 2 points today.
This is one of the games that is often referred to, I guess, as a trap game as well, because you had the big opponent, the tough team, the St. Louis Blues on Saturday. You kind of exhale and relax when you have such a strong performance, especially by your captain yet again. And it's the Buffalo Sabres. They're last in the East. I mean, we're not in the playoffs, but they're significantly below us, and it's easy to subconsciously let your guard down.
Yeah, and I think the Flyers have had an inordinate amount of those kind of trap games. And when you know it's coming, it's still a trap, because that's, I think, the biggest problem with this team is they know what's coming, and they don't go in with that mindset, but subconsciously kind of the same way that they take their foot off the gas in the third period when they have a lead. They just let these bad habits creep in, and that's why when I do radio interviews like this, I sound like an idiot because I still don't know the identity of the Flyers. Yes, the season, and they don't know their identity either, quite frankly.
Well, you're no idiot, Dave. That's the first thing. But it's the other question I have with Philadelphia is how many games in a row can Brian Elliott play? I mean, he's going to get 5 days off, so just keep rolling him out. And that it seems to have been the strategy for the Philadelphia Flyers. But part of that was out of necessity, I understand. But I'm beginning to be a little concerned with the amount of work he's taking on.
Yeah, you certainly run that risk of just driving him right into the ground. And the streak will end today. Michael Neuwirth will play against his former team, the Buffalo Sabres. But in the last couple games, I mean, Brian Elliott has played really well for the Flyers all season long. But the past couple games, you start to see the classic signs of wear for a goaltender, which is kind of similar to a boxer when his hands start coming down. When that glove hand comes down for a goaltender, that's a telling sign. He's probably a little bit tired. He's played a ton of hockey. And that's been the case with Brian Elliott. So if you look at the past couple of games, teams have been beating him high glove side. And I don't know how much Dave Haxtell was aware of that, but I'm sure Brian Elliott was aware of that. I think just based on the back-to-back and the fact that they're going into this break here, the plan was to get Michael Neuwirth in today all along. So I don't think it was based on the performance yesterday, but that will be the case. Michael Neuwirth coming back in here. And yeah, you mentioned he missed a lot of time with an injury, and then the Flyers had a little bit of a break after he had started practicing again. So there wasn't really, from their perspective, a great time to get him in because it kind of would have been throwing him to the Wolves. But I think that's a dangerous game, especially with the guy who, Brian Elliott, I think is 32 years old. That's a lot of hockey to ask him to play consecutively, 16 games.
And especially when you still have half a season left. The second half starts today for the Philadelphia Flyers, who have played 41 games so far this season. But in the second half, they're a little bit outside the playoff picture, but they're right in the hunt. They're just a couple of games, or a couple of points, behind Carolina. Pittsburgh is directly ahead of them, 1 point ahead. You've got the Islanders in there. You've got games coming up against the division. So as difficult a first half as the Philadelphia Flyers have had at some points, all things considered, they're not in bad shape heading into the back half of the season.
Right, and when you look at the makeup of their schedule, I think 21 out of the first 24 games or something crazy like that was against the Western Conference. So I think still the Flyers have only played 5 or 6 games out of the 24 or 28, whatever it is, against their division. So those games mean that the swings can happen a little bit faster. And actually, I wrote that yesterday that, 4 points can take 2 months to turn around if you're not playing the teams that you're chasing. So the Flyers are probably going to see some of those swings rather quickly. Buffalo's an Eastern Conference team, not a Metropolitan Division team, but they will see a lot of those teams coming up here in the second half. They go into the bye week and then come out with the New Jersey Devils for the first time all season long. I don't believe they've played the Rangers yet either. So a lot of those division games, things will change fast.
Dave Isaac is with us, covers the Philadelphia Flyers for the Courier-Post, at Dave G. Isaac to follow him on Twitter. Philly going for their 3rd consecutive victory as they get set to host the Buffalo Sabres this afternoon. And after the first half of the season, I don't think we can go much farther without talking about the fantastic season that a couple of players have had. Sean Couturier is up to 21 goals now as they finally got an empty netter yesterday. And Claude Giroux has also had a sensational bounce-back season.
Yeah, I think the Flyers really found some chemistry there in preseason, and I think that they went into it thinking it would be a short-lived experiment, putting Claude Giroux on the wing. And I think that part of it was once they saw Oscar Lindblom, their 5th-round pick from, I think, 2014, didn't quite seem to cut it in training camp. They said, okay, we can allow Giroux to take a couple days here on the wing and see how it works out. Give Lindblom a break, bring him back in. Well, it never happened. They haven't touched that line ever since. Well, they haven't touched that duo ever since. Jake Voracek's been up there. Now Travis Konechny is up there. But the Flyers are a team that kind of works in pairs. So Giroux and Couturier have certainly become one. It was Giroux and Voracek for years. But there's a little bit of debate as to who's the one stirring the drink here, because Claude Giroux looks like Claude Giroux from 5 years ago all of a sudden. He had that sports hernia surgery 2 summers ago, and last season was almost a wash for him. And now he's starting to look like himself. And Couturier, I guess it was just a matter of the opportunity, because in Philadelphia for a couple of years here, the debate was, is he a really good third-line center or a not-so-great second-line center? Well, it turns out he's a fine number 1 center, and nobody thought that was a possibility. So those are the two that have really kind of carried the Flyers. Even when they were in that 10-game losing streak, those two were playing quite well.
And we can't forget about Jake Voracek, too, who has compiled an incredible 41 assists through the first half of the season. He's been another one that you, I think, expected more goals from him. The point production is there, but it's a lot more assists this year.
Yeah, and that losing streak that I just alluded to, it was those three, Voracek on the right wing with Giroux on the left and Couturier in the middle. And it got to a point where even though that line was playing well, the Flyers had to do something. So Dave Haxtell moved Jake Voracek off, and he's kind of been able to carry whatever line he's been on if it's not that top unit. So right now he's with Michael Raffl and Valtteri Filppula, who, quite frankly, I think is kind of on his last leg here. And that line's still going pretty well because of Jake Voracek. So he's been a play driver for the Flyers, no doubt about it.
It's been nice to, and maybe it's a sign. This will sound goofy, but maybe it's a sign that things are going the right direction for the Philadelphia Flyers. They had the terrible losing streak earlier and the frustration where they played good games and couldn't get victories. But maybe it's a sign yesterday that they had the butt goal go in. There's the puck that bounces off the St. Louis Blues defenseman's keister and winds up in the back of the net. Sometimes it's something like that points to, you know what, the karma's flipping and we're starting to move in the right direction now.
Yeah, that was Colton Parayko's rear end, so there was a lot of area there for such a big body. But many moments like that for the Flyers here, where you've said maybe that's going to be the thing that turns them around. Maybe it's that hit in the corner. Maybe it's that fight. There have been so many of them that. Maybe that makes the top 5 list, but there have been certainly quite a number of them. And I didn't get a chance to ask Claude Giroux about that yesterday specifically, but I can't imagine that was planned. He had Travis Konechny open on the other side of a sprawling Colton Parayko, so I don't think that was intentional, but he'll certainly take it.
No, yeah, it's one of those things that, you know what, it's a fun bounce, a good story that it happens to go in, and just maybe it may bring some good feelings, but to the team. You mentioned Konechny, who's been good this year. There's been a lot of other good young players that are starting to take on bigger roles with the Philadelphia Flyers as well. Provorov has been sensational, and Shane Gostisbehere isn't getting quite as much attention lately, but he too is also having another really good season for Philly.
Yeah, he had the same surgery. Hindered him last. There's a certain move he has. It's like a toe drag, but it's not just the stick; it's his skates too, and he can spin out of almost anything. And that wasn't there at all last year until maybe the last month of the season. So people thought, oh, maybe it's a sophomore slump. No, that move still works. The NHL hasn't been able to figure that one out still. And he's been on a pair with Provorov recently, which is interesting because you have two guys that can move the puck, and I think they're kind of a little top-heavy in that regard now because there's not a lot of offense anywhere else in their defense core. But what's impressed me the most is the plays that Shane Gostisbehere has made without the puck. The Flyers were absolutely terrible on Tuesday against the Pittsburgh Penguins, but in the first period, Gostisbehere had 3 stops on Sidney Crosby alone. So he's been going really well for the Flyers this year, and even though he won't admit that it was an injury that held him back last year, it sure looks that way because quite frankly, I think that's the better of the two, right? If you're worried about a sophomore slump and the book is out on this guy, every move he's got still seems to work, or maybe he's just made adjustments, I don't know, but the fact that he's still able to put a very strong season together for the Flyers is much needed because they've got a very young defense core. They've got 2 rookies. Travis Sanheim hasn't played as much recently, but Robert Haig hasn't been benched once all year. It's a group where Shane Gostisbehere in his 3rd year is all of a sudden the veteran of the group.
Dave Isaac from the Courier-Post covering the Philadelphia Flyers, at Dave G. Isaac to follow him on Twitter. Good stuff, Dave. I hope you get a 5-day break as well as the team, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Todd. Good to talk with you.
Good to talk to you too, Dave. Dave Isaac from the Courier Post covering the Philadelphia Flyers. Nolan Patrick too. It's been kind of hot and cold at times for Patrick of the Philadelphia Flyers. He'll be fine though. He's going to grow into that role nicely. I'm not worried that he's not producing enormous numbers this season. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's all that important right now for the Philadelphia Flyers that he's only got 2 goals on the season. He's playing well away from the play without the puck, as some often like to say. I think he's going to grow into a second line center role really nicely for the Philadelphia Flyers. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Much to get to before the top of the hour. Sarah McLellan with the latest on the Minnesota Wild, and Jim Diamond in our next segment talking Nashville Predators, who had a nice road victory last night against the Los Angeles Kings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with more after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app. You can download it now at the App Store. It's powered by Primetime Radio. Lots to get to today, including in our next hour, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DauberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5. Help for you in your fantasy hockey pool with the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, and a little more help as well. Chris Peters coming up, and lots to get into after a busy Saturday and also a hectic Sunday. Nashville Predators victorious on the road last night in Los Angeles. They get a 4-3 victory over the LA Kings. Jim Diamond covers the Preds for AP and Rinkside Report. You can follow him on Twitter at Diamond Hockey, and he joins us now. Jim, how important was that road win in LA for the Preds last night? They've been struggling a bit on the road. They got a nice win in Los Angeles against a really good team.
Yeah, there's no question about it, especially coming off a really disappointing overtime loss in Phoenix, or in Glendale, against the Arizona Coyotes. They really needed that to kind of bolster their confidence. They have one game left here before they have their 5-day break. So I think any kind of prolonged losing streak going into a break like that would not sit very well. So you're right. A one-goal win on the road against a tough team like the Kings, that are playing extremely well, was really big for them.
I thought it was also significant that they got a couple of goals from players that weren't named Ryan Johansson. Philip Forsberg, of course, is out. But because of that, I thought it was important that they got from scoring from some of the secondary sources.
Yeah, Austin Watson does a tremendous number of things that don't often show up on the highlight reels or the box score. He blocks shots, kills penalties, all those kinds of things. And he's been in he's taken a couple of difficult penalties this year that have ended up in the back of the net. So to see him get rewarded kind of in a bounce back game like that was really important. And just with Philip Forsberg out for a prolonged period of time, the goals are going to have to come from somewhere if they want to be successful. So I do believe that was important for the Predators to find some secondary scoring and not just rely on the guys that normally score the goals.
Well, and generating offense from the defense has become a thing for the Predators too. Roman Josi had the first goal of the game last night. He's up to 8 on the season, and that's just kind of the captain leading by example, having that power play goal in the first period.
Sure, it's kind of been the Predators' hallmark ever since they've come into existence. That a lot of their offenses have come from the D, and on one of Watson's goals last night, it was a deflection off of a shot from Ryan Ellis, who is finally back into the lineup after missing the first 3 months of the season, basically. So there's no secret they need those guys to be successful, and seeing the results that come that way are extremely important for them.
Ryan Ellis has just come back into the lineup after missing almost the first half of the season. How has he looked to you? It usually takes players a little time to get back up to speed after especially missing so much time in the regular season. How's he looked to you in the early going?
Yeah, understandably, his first game wasn't great, but put up a goal in his second game and had that assist on the Watson goal last night. And he's a favorite of Peter Laviolette. He is a guy that Laviolette will give up to 30 minutes a night. So I think once he finds his sea legs, if you will, you'll see him in there just about every situation. He's a player that Laviolette trusts in every situation. So his minutes will start to ramp up, but surprisingly he's looked very good so far. After not playing since the Game 6 of the final.
Jim Diamond is with us. He covers the Nashville Predators for the Associated Press and Rinkside Report. @Diamond Hockey is how you follow him on Twitter. The Preds coming off a victory on Saturday night against the Los Angeles Kings. Are the lines going to be kind of a work in progress for Peter Laviolette and the Nashville Predators with Philip Forsberg being out for so long, or do they seem like they're kind of settled into how they're going to be for you?
Even before the injury, he was doing something I hadn't really seen before. He was kind of coming up with lines for on the road and different lines at home, just to try and play the advantage as best he could with whether or not they had the last change or trying to balance out some of the scoring. So I would think Forsberg's injury will kind of make that even a bigger concentration on him, depending on the opponent or who just happens to be going that night. But yeah, it is sometimes a crapshoot to see who he's going to put out there, and depending on who's going that night. I guess nobody expected Watson to score twice last night, so you just never know who's going to end up out there or who's playing well with whom or how it's going to be. But it's nice for the Predators to finally have that kind of flexibility with their forwards, because it hasn't always been the case here.
Yeah, and well, the depth at center has allowed that to happen as well. With Kyle Turris coming over, it kind of reslots Nick Bonino into a position where he's more comfortable and where he was used effectively in his previous life with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Has he settled into being a Nashville Predator now? There was some kind of starts and stops at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, he was obviously injured going into the season, and then once he got into the lineup, he missed all of training camp and all the preseason, and then he was in for a couple of games and got hurt again. But yeah, now he seems to find that rhythm, and I think the acquisition of Turris is really made that transition back into the lineup a little bit easier for him, where he can find his rhythm and he's not kind of pushed into so much ice time. And there's even been some times where they've had Bonino on the wing, so he's obviously very flexible. And now that he's had a good number of games in a row, he looks like he's fitting in well, even though it may not be in the role that everyone kind of projected once he signed here as a free agent this summer.
The goaltending situation with the Nashville Predators has always been kind of intriguing. Pekka Rinne has been the guy for so many years, but looking at it this year, it's almost as if, I don't want to say there's a transition taking place, but there's a bit of a shift taking place in that Jussi Saros seems to be getting a few more games. The really cool part is if you look at the statistics, they are almost identical in terms of goals against average and save percentage, no matter who's in net for the Nashville Predators, which is about as good as you can ask for from your backup goaltender that Saros is. But I could see the ratio of games shifting a little bit as we move through the second half of the year.
And I think we saw that a lot last year. And, I'm of the opinion that's what enabled the Predators to be, able to have that long playoff run, just because in years past, Rinne was playing so many games that come playoff time, he may not have had a lot left in the gas tank. But Saros was able to take a number of games away from Rinne last year. And, I think that paid off in the long term. And earlier this year, Saros wasn't getting a lot of action, so he was kind of, they sent him back and forth to Milwaukee to play some games in the AHL. But now, you're right. It doesn't seem to matter who's in net. Their team is kind of playing the same. The Predators will kind of maybe play a different game depending on who the goaltender was. But maybe it was Bobby West style, it's kind of freewheeling, works out with the defenseman. They realize that their goaltender's going to need to make some saves, 5-man rushing again. It's a huge asset to them to have two goaltenders that they don't. I am. Get dropped.
Yes, I'm here. Are you there?
Okay. It dropped for a second. Sorry.
Yes, I heard you. Heard you drop for a second there too, Jim. One more I'll try and squeeze in if we can. Peter Laviolette was just officially named the All-Star coach for the Central Division team. I'm thinking he wouldn't mind rather having a few days off for himself and for everybody to kind of focus on the second half of the season, but still a terrific honor.
Sure, he's a very driven guy and a very focused guy, but honors like that don't come along very often. And the All-Star game isn't too far away from Nashville, so he'll probably be able to get a little time to relax in. Like I mentioned earlier, the Predators have their 5-day break coming up here after Tuesday, so January is actually a pretty light month for them, which I think bodes well for them in the Forsberg injury category. So if he's on the shorter end of it, but Laviolette's had a tremendous amount of success here since he's been the coach. So. He's deserving of the honor, and I think he'll be appreciative of it.
Yeah, well deserved. Jim Diamond covering the Predators for AP and Rinkside Report at Diamond Hockey, to follow him on Twitter. Always appreciate the time, Jim. Good information. We appreciate it, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
All right, my friend. Good to speak with you again.
Thanks, Jim. Jim Diamond covering the Nashville Predators. Yes, Peter Laviolette will be the head coach for the Central Division team. John Cooper was noted as coach. Barry Trotz and Gerard Gallant will be the other coaches for the All-Star game. Some thoughts on that coming up a little later on the program. Also, with the bye week starting, we'll get into that a little bit later on the show as well. It's shifted how it's being done this season because of what occurred last year, the first time that started. But I think there really needs to be a bit of a bigger conversation that needs to take place about the 5-day mandated bye week for each of the 31 teams in the National Hockey League. There's already enough scheduling, logistics, and nightmares throughout the NHL season. Adding this into the mix is difficult, to say the least, but maybe
maybe there's a better way, and some things we'll talk about and look at later on in the program. Also coming up, Stephen Laidlaw, managing editor of DobberHockey.com with the Fantasy 5. Hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you in the fantasy hockey pool. Chris Peters later on in the program as well. And Sarah McLellan, who covers the Minnesota Wild now for the Star Tribune, will join us in the next segment. We'll talk about the Minnesota Wild. They got hammered by the Colorado Avalanche on Saturday, a team that is fighting to climb back into the playoff picture in the Western Conference and get themselves into a more secure spot than they are right now, which is on the outside looking in. Same number of points as Colorado, but they played one more game. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more after the break.
The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition. We're here Saturdays and Sunday. Really, I haven't forgotten what day it is. This is Sunday. We're here Saturdays and Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com on the Hockey Unfiltered app that you can get through the App Store. We're live on Facebook, live on Periscope, YouTube Live, and the Hockey Unfiltered app. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast as well. That includes our Little Saturday podcast, our midweek podcast that hit Wednesday afternoon. Just something that we started last year. We do it every week, every Wednesday. Just kind of go through a few stories that are bubbling and percolating in the National Hockey League, just to keep the conversation going. Some interesting ideas and observations that we'll get into on the Little Saturday podcast. They hit Wednesday afternoon. Wednesday is usually a light day in the National Hockey League. Not a lot going on. There's only 2 games this coming Wednesday. So we like to keep the conversation going instead of waiting the entire week. You can subscribe through iTunes, check it out on iHeartRadio, and of course, the Hockey Unfiltered app. We're hoping to speak with Sarah McLellan from the Star Tribune about the Wild. Apparently, though, just got word she is not going to be able to join. She's having travel issues, and that is the worst. After all that's gone on over the last few days, with the snow and the wind and the cold and the nonsense, falling iguanas and all the rest of it in the East, there's enough travel issues to go around and get in everybody's way. So we hope Sarah can find her way. But the Minnesota Wild are kind of a funny and puzzling team to me right now. I mentioned they got hammered last night in Colorado to take on the Avs. It's Milan Hajduk night. They're retiring his number, so the Avs are ready to go. And they came out storming against the Minnesota Wild. Devin Dubnyk looked like he, for at least the second time since he has returned from that lower body injury that had him miss about a half a dozen games, just hasn't looked to be quite himself to me. He looks like he has lost his composure on a few occasions. I know that the Avs were kind of crowding the crease at times, but it seems as though he's taking it a little bit personally, getting frustrated. He was swinging the stick with a pretty good chop on the Avs players at times last night. And that's something that, as we get to this point in the season, teams are going to be looking for their time off. Even though we just finished the Christmas holiday break of 3 days, now we're starting the mandated 5-day breaks. Minnesota looks like a team like they could use a few days off just to kind of catch their breath, but their break doesn't happen for another week or so. It's just over a week that their break starts. But there's a bunch of other teams that are starting them right away. But good for Colorado to get that victory last night. 5 straight for Colorado. And they are heading into their mandated 5-day break now on a nice high, on a nice roll. Good for them. It's Colorado Avalanche that are finding themselves in a playoff spot as you get going on Sunday, January the 7th, 2018. Pretty remarkable. They had a lopsided victory on Saturday night. There were a bunch of other lopsided victories as well. Tampa and Ottawa, it seemed as though they were trading who was going to be the dominant team. Ottawa came out flying against the Tampa Bay Lightning on Saturday. They were just smoking hot right at the start of the game. Picked up right where they left off the night before against the San Jose Sharks. Scored 3 goals in the third period, came back to tie the San Jose Sharks, and then boom, 7 seconds into overtime, they win the game. Well, the momentum didn't slow down for the Ottawa Senators on Saturday against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa's got the best record in the East. Ottawa came out flying. They were dominant. Scored 3 goals in the first period. 2 of them before the game was even 6 minutes old. Tampa was kind of, whoa, what's going on here? Ottawa added another in the third period, but that's okay. Tampa kind of got their sea legs and got going in the second period. They scored a couple of quick goals. 2 quick goals in the first 2 minutes of the second period, and then scored 1 to even it before the end of the second period. Sens flip the script again. They light it up in the third period and get 3 more goals. 6-3 is the final. Ottawa's got back-to-back wins. They can enjoy the wave of emotion. Big comeback on Friday. They let Tampa back into the game, but then they scored 3 more. They were down. They came back and roared back to life. The reality for Ottawa, though, they are still second from the bottom in the Eastern Conference. Only the Buffalo Sabres are below them. But it was a good weekend. It was a good weekend. For Tampa, this was a nice reminder. Coach John Cooper was quite critical of his team afterwards in his comments. This was a nice reminder that you got to play hard for the entire game, even against an opponent that is well below you in the standings. Kind of reminded his team that this was not the game that is expected from them on a nightly basis. They had some good moments, but they did not play well. They did not play with a determined effort for the entire game. I expect they will show that they received this message from Coach John Cooper as they get set to take on the Detroit Red Wings on Sunday. I think that is something that we are going to see. But there was lots of domination in the series of games on Saturday. One of the teams that maybe has been getting noticed, but I'm not sure enough of it, is the Boston Bruins. Their dismantling of the Carolina Hurricanes on Saturday was something to behold. Talked a bunch about the good young players that are starting to embrace their roles and take on larger roles with the Bruins. Charlie McAvoy, I just love watching him play. Sensational. Jake DeBrusk, terrific. David Pasternak has been good for a while. The old guy on the team, though, Patrice Bergeron, had himself a night against the Carolina Hurricanes. 5 points, 4 goals plus an assist. Brad Marchand had 4 assists. There was a great line from polarizing Bruins play-by-play voice Jack Edwards on the game on Saturday. So So he asked the question. He's like, I need clarification. I need a ruling on this of his partner, Andy Brickley. So Bergeron scores a goal, and then he has later on in the game, he has a natural hat trick. He has 3 more goals all in a row. So Edwards asked if that should be considered a supernatural hat trick. Nice. That was very good. I don't know that Boston is catching Tampa Bay, but they're a good team. They've got a few games in hand. They're a number of points behind, but they're a good team. I don't know that they're going to catch them in the standings. That's still a long way to go. They're 9 points behind. They've got 2 games in hand. But they took apart the Carolina Hurricanes on Saturday. And that is the story of the exasperating Carolina Hurricanes. They continue to show multiple personalities this season. The good goaltending that they had been getting from Cam Ward, well, that ended. Clock struck midnight. 2 shots, 2 goals. Thanks for coming. Get out of the net. Scott Darling was set to absorb the punishment for the rest of the night. 7-1 was the final score. It wasn't pretty. You see, Carolina, I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. At the start of the season, I'm all excited about Carolina, thinking that this is the year. They made a nice acquisition. Scott Darling came in. They're going to take that next step forward. This is going to be the year. But then I got disappointed once too often in the first part of the season. I knew this was going to happen again. I told you I wasn't getting sucked in again. You broke my heart too many times, Carolina Hurricanes. I'm not sure that I can love again. I have to look after me now. I can't give my heart to you too much more. It's just been too much. But that has been the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, you know what? At times we'll see the same thing again through the second half of the year. This is what I'm expecting now. They got absolutely taken apart by the Boston Bruins. A couple of nights before, they looked great against the Pittsburgh Penguins. What happens in the second half of the year? We'll have the same kind of thing. They'll look great on one night, and then they'll look awful again. It has been so frustrating. That's why I can't get emotionally invested again. Great young talent on display on Saturday night in Toronto. 2 of the best young players that you'll see in the National Hockey League. Both had really nice goals, too. Brock Besser, dubbed the Brock Bess Monster by our fantasy expert, Stephen Laidlaw. 22nd goal of the year. Rips it in the first period, gives Vancouver a 1-0 lead. Austin Matthews pops his 19th of the season. Oh, he's missed 10 games or so. 19 goals on the season. Eventually, the Leafs come back. They tie. They win in a shootout. Terrific game. I kind of feel for Vancouver because they played a good game, but the Leafs managed to get back in and wound up with the 2 points. Shows you then an improving team, a team learning how to win. That's the Toronto Maple Leafs, to climb back and come from 2 goals down, get even, and then get the victory in the shootout. Oh, and Chris Tanev of the Vancouver Canucks. Ooh, hit in the face with a puck. His teammate picking up chiclets from the ice. He had other jagged teeth that kind of stuck to his lip and tongue. The worst thing about this is I think of all the dental work that these guys have to have, and I hate going to the dentist, and it's just awful. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Hour number 1 wrapping up, a busy hour number 2 straight ahead. Chris Peters coming up, Stephen Laidlaw coming up, and a bunch of all-star things that I want to get into as well. Back with much more after the break.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Hour number one sailed by. We got a busy hour number two as well. Lot to get into. Lot to discuss with plenty going on in the National Hockey League. We're into the second half of the NHL season. The trade deadline will be here before you know it. That's what you'll be hearing a lot of over the next few weeks. I mean, it's only 7 weeks away. We got to start pumping out trade deadline speculation and alleged rumors right away, don't we? Oh, yeah. Look forward to it. That's going to be coming up. This hour, Chris Peters from ESPN.com will join us. We'll talk a whole bunch of things NHL. And in for his regular Sunday visit, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, Stephen Laidlaw, with this week's Fantasy 5. Hashtag Fantasy 5. Help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. 5 names. Some names to keep in mind if you're looking for a little help, a little scoring, a little defensive help, whatever it is. We do it every Sunday. Hashtag Fantasy 5, the Fantasy 5. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, available for download at the App Store. Oh, it is a busy Saturday with so much going on, full slate of games, and a super busy Sunday. Real busy with 10 to go today, starting in the afternoon. It's all-day hockey. Jersey and the Islanders at 1 p.m., the Buffalo Sabres, Philadelphia Flyers, a 1 p.m. start, 3 p.m. starts, St. Louis and Washington, Edmonton and Chicago, San Jose, Winnipeg, some good matchups, and that's all early starts. You got Florida at Columbus at 5, Vancouver, Montreal at 7, Tampa, Detroit at 7, Boston and Pittsburgh at 7:30, and the New York Rangers and Vegas Golden Knights at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's your Sunday schedule. That's a good schedule of games. As I mentioned, we're into the second half of the season. As you looked at the standings this morning, as I do every morning, and in fact, multiple times through the day, because I'll think of something that, yeah, you know, I'd like to really have a look at this. I'd like to have a look at this. Yeah. I'm not really sure about this. You look at the standings and you think, how can this be? This is not what I expected in October. This is not what I expected in October. Well, that's because half the teams that were in the playoffs last spring are not in a playoff position as of the moment. Lightning, Devils, and Hurricanes in the East were not in the postseason a year ago. Jets, Kings, Stars, Avalanche, and the not in existence Vegas Golden Knights are in playoff positions in the West. That was not the case a year ago. Is that the true competitive balance? Is that the true what's going on? Yeah, I guess. It means change can happen quickly. Lots of work still has to go on, but when it happens, yeah, it happens quickly. We were able to track down Sarah McLellan, who is having travel issues. Sarah covers the Minnesota Wild for the Star Tribune. You can follow her on Twitter at Sarah_McLellan. We're able to squeeze her in for just a couple of minutes. Sarah, did you get your travel issues resolved? I mean, this is the most important and pressing question that's going on right now. Did you get your travel issues solved? Apparently, we lost Sarah. Our apologies. It's a strange situation in the NHL with so much playoff turnover. It's a strange situation. So much playoff turnover with all of those teams that are in the postseason and weren't in the postseason a year ago. Edmonton Oilers. Everybody thought everything was great with the Edmonton Oilers a year ago. No, not so much this year. Calgary Flames a year ago. Calgary Flames struggling. Had a big victory on Saturday night. Had a big victory on Saturday night. Oh, yes, there was the much talked about Glenn Gulletson F-bomb tirade, flinging his stick up into the stands. Oh, he sent a message to his team. Yeah, sure did. Sure did. Okay, it worked for one game, I guess. They had a 2-0 lead, got off to a hot start. Oh, but they let the Anaheim Ducks back into it. Dougie Hamilton, nice to hear from you. Game-winning goal. Okay, it's a nice win. I'm still not that high on the Calgary Flames. I'm still not that high on Calgary. As we were talking about yesterday, Elliot Friedman had more on it last night on Hockey Night in Canada. They are working on, and this is a great phrase, they're working on an exit strategy for Jaromir Jagr from the Calgary Flames. I'm not taking great joy in talking about that. I think it's a bit sad that this is the way his career is going to come to an end in the National Hockey League, but this is the misguided vision that people thought Jaromir Jagr was going to be able to play in the NHL this season. Not going to happen. Late game was good on Saturday. Good matchup with the Kings and Nashville Predators. We talked to Jim Diamond about it a bit in the last hour. Drew Doughty took an interference penalty midway through the first period that kind of, as a result of a subsequent penalty, got the ball rolling offensively for the Nashville Predators. He vehemently disagreed with the call, we'll say, in rather explicit language fashion. So much so that on the highlights on the NHL Network, they blurred out his mouth because he was saying bad words to the official. I don't know exactly what he said, but he said it rather emphatically and earned himself an extra 2 minutes. LA took another penalty. They were a 5-on-3, and the Preds went up 1-0, and the way they went from there. It didn't look like a horrific call, and I can understand Drew Doughty being upset. But wow, that seemed like a big, quick trigger. Really seemed like a quick trigger. But LA, one of the surprises in the first half. It's something to see the LA Kings up on top. They have been such a surprise this year. In the first half of the season, they've been sensational, battling for top spot with the Vegas Golden Knights. It's Vegas that's on top right now. As a result, Gerard Gallant will be the coach of the Pacific Division team at All-Star Weekend. The other coaches were announced this morning: John Cooper in the Atlantic, Peter Laviolette in the Central, and Barry Trotz in the Metro. I talked about the All-Star a little bit on our Little Saturday podcast, which drop on Wednesday afternoon. You can access them through our website and through the Hockey Unfiltered app. The All-Star Weekend captains were named: PK Subban, Connor McDavid, Alex Ovechkin, Steven Stamkos. Okay, that's fine. Good choices. There was a fan vote that was apparently taking place to nominate which player would be the captain of each of the divisions. Only the winners were announced. And through the process, only who was leading was kind of announced. Sean McIndoe, our friend Down Goes Brown, who writes for Sportsnet and Vice Sports and some other outlets, made a great point in his piece. Show the votes. Show the numbers. Show who's leading and by how much. Show who won the votes and by how much. It's interesting. It's information that people are looking for. I'm not saying there's any sort of conspiracy involved, but if you're going to make these players captain, why wouldn't you show the numbers? Why wouldn't you show that they've won? It promotes the players. It promotes the game. It promotes your stars. It promotes the event. Are the NHL decision makers still gun shy about the whole John Scott vote thing? Move on. It doesn't make any sense. The uniforms were revealed as well. The 4 all-star uniforms that they're going to be wearing. I like them. I like them all. Some more than others. The one with the blue is the dominant color. That's probably my favorite, just a personal choice. But they wear bright colors in all walks of life now. And there are some people saying, oh, why do they need to use neon colors? Why do they need to use bright colors? It's the trend in athletic wear, fitness wear. That's where your merchandise sales are going to be. And that's the whole objective with those unis. Sell as much merchandise as you can in a short period of time. Any new running shoes or gear, bright colors dominate. It appeals to kids. It appeals to younger fans. You're trying to sell a bunch of merchandise in a short period of time. Do it. This is the way to do it. The rest of the all-star rosters are going to be announced in a few days. You can expect a steady stream of who got snubbed headlines. That's desperation for clicks and attention. Remember the rules of the weekend. Every team has to be represented by at least one player, so you're not going to be able to accommodate everyone. Some players are not going to want to go. Some are going to say they're a little dinged up and be able to justify it. They'll be dismissed. They won't have to go. Others will be legitimately injured. Regardless of who goes, there's going to be like 50 super talented players in Tampa. That's worthwhile to me. Oh, this player didn't go. Well, maybe there's a reason. Maybe he's been to a bunch. Maybe he's a little hurt. Give him the weekend off. Cut him some slack. There's going to be a lot of great players there. I'm anxious to see how much fun the skills competition is going to be, because that's the objective, or it should be with the skills competition. The games are going to be 3-on-3, but you'll recall last year's All-Star Weekend in LA, some of the competition and the skills were changed. Some dropped, some added, and apparently there are more changes in store. There's testing going on. They haven't announced what's going to take place yet, but I understand that the best event will again not be part of the skills competition. Foolishly, a year ago, the breakaway challenge competition was dropped. I believe it is not to be heard from again. It's not making a comeback. Too bad, because this was the one must-see event. It rivaled the NBA dunk competition. That's when everybody gets to go out and do whatever wild thing you can think of and dunk in the NBA. Oh, we got to get rid of that. We got to get rid of this breakaway challenge thing. We don't want anyone to feel bad or step out of their comfort zone. Remember the Brent Burns Chewbacca in Nashville? It was fantastic. Remember? I forget who it was, but one of the players tagged in country singer Dierks Bentley to go in and take a shot. Not going to happen. Remember the kids coming out on the ice to take shots for their dads? Oh, we can't win. We can't have that. No, we don't want any of that. That's fun. That's exciting. That makes you smile, makes you laugh. We can't have any of that. This is why we can't have nice things. You want to know the really funny part about all this, though? This breakaway challenge where, oh, you got guys wearing wigs. PK Subban in full Yager regalia with the Cooperalls and the long hair and everything. Oh, we can't have that. The really funny part about this bad decision, those are the shots they use in the promo for TV to talk about the All-Star game. They have shots of the breakaway challenge. Oh, we can't have that. That's too much fun. That's too much exciting. That's showing too much personality. That's showing players having a good time. We can't have that. I don't know who all the decision makers are in this choice, but it's a bad decision. It is a bad decision. When you're keeping when you're keeping the passing accuracy with those tiny little nets out on the ice. Now, I get that this is a tremendous skill that NHL players have, that they can saucer a pass across the ice and eventually put it into this teeny tiny little net. I get it. It's really hard. It totally demonstrates the skill and talent and ability of NHL players. It's wonderful that they can do that. It is boring as hell to watch, either in person or on TV. Go get a beer at that point. Oh, look, he's passing the puck across the ice. He put it in a little net. Isn't that nice? Oh, but we don't want a player skating in on a breakaway, on a penalty shot, having fun and having personality. That is so disappointing. That is so disappointing to me. It will be a great weekend. It will be a lot of fun. I'm disappointed that the extra exciting, fun, and entertaining part is not going to be a part of it. Because that's what you're in the entertainment business. You're there to have fun and show personality. And it's too bad that that's not going to be there. Bunch of other things to get into before we wrap up at the top of the hour. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Oh, so much more to get into with the 5-day mandated breaks for each of the NHL teams. We'll talk about that coming up and much more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you missed the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with Seat Giant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.
Welcome back. It's the Sunday edition, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, available now for download at the App Store. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Before the top of the hour, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, will be here with this week's Fantasy 5. Hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Pleased to welcome back to the program our friend from ESPN.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Chris M. Peters, and Chris joins us on the line now. Chris, I am never at a loss to flip on a game or a couple of games every night and see great, talented young players who are having dramatic impacts on the National Hockey League at what seems to be earlier and earlier stages in their career.
Yeah, it's been kind of the trend, and I love it. You know, it's great for people like me that follow the young players pretty closely, and certainly the prospects, and just kind of watching their ability to just jump right in. And it seems like, you know, just having been at the World Junior Championship, we got a pretty good crop on the way as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see, you know, some of these guys as they progress, and it's good for the league to have more star quality players, and especially young ones.
I think you're right. At the World Junior Championships, that was the appeal initially about that tournament, is getting to see the next wave of young stars. And I think the good part is we're getting to see them sooner in the National Hockey League, because there are players that are going to start making the leap right away. And well, in fact, it went the other way this year with Victor Mete of the Montreal Canadiens, who went back to play in the World Juniors. And I'm anxious to see what a player like that will do when he does get a chance to get back into the lineup for the Canadiens.
Yeah, well, he certainly played extremely well for Canada, and obviously they have the gold medal to show for it. With I think the D-Corps was just such a huge part of what that team was able to do, and Mete in particular, because he had to play so much and did miss a game with got a little banged up, and so sat out one game. But when he was in there, he was one of the guys they were able to lean on. And I think his NHL experience brought a lot to that team and helped a lot. So now you go back from kind of that emotional high of winning the gold medal, and you got to get right back into the grind of the National Hockey League, and we'll see how his ice time looks going back to the Habs, because it has fluctuated quite a bit this year, and when it's we see from him as when he can play more, he's gonna really continue to develop. He's an excellent skater already. He doesn't have tremendous size, but he's a very strong individual. And I think that he handles himself extremely well, and was certainly a leader for that Canadian team. So I think that's a really positive, good experience, a confidence-building experience for him to take back with him to the Habs.
Another player that I thought got some attention, but is going to get an awful lot more attention when he does find his way in the National Hockey League, is Cale Makar. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are so few defensemen that handle the puck the way that he does, and combine that with tremendous skating and just excellent vision and a tremendous ability to get shots through. I mean, how many shots did he throw to the net that got tipped in by usually Drake Batherson or somebody in tight, or he had a couple of just insane release shots where the goalie just couldn't even really react to it. And the interesting thing about Makar is he kind of started that tournament as the number 7 on that team, which is hard to believe considering how talented he is. But the interesting thing is even though he was not getting the minutes that he does at UMass, he was making a huge impact every time he was on the ice. Certainly deadly on the power play. That was where he was at his best. But at 5-on-5, he would make these just incredible plays with his feet, with his hands, getting around guys, getting up the ice quickly. I mean, one of the biggest things that I saw that Canada was able to do is that their defensemen got the puck out of their zone so quickly that nobody ever had a chance against them to really get set up in their zone and get any sustained zone time, because those guys were all over the puck. And when you that's the trend of the NHL. If you have defensemen that can get the puck out of your zone quickly, that's as good as a big hit. That's as good. It's often better than a big hit, because it means you're getting that possession right away and making it count. So I think that they had so many good defensemen on that team, but Makar absolutely stood out in terms of his skill level. I mean, it's just remarkable to watch him play with the puck on his stick.
Chris Peters is our guest, covers the National Hockey League and prospects for ESPN.com. At Chris M. Peters is how you follow him on Twitter. And one of the many intriguing stories about the tournament was goaltender Carter Hart for Team Canada. Had the heartbreak the year before, comes back, gets the gold medal, and this is something that maybe you ride that emotion, that it carries with you, and it's a tremendous learning experience as he begins his National Hockey League career. I know the Philadelphia Flyers are certainly hoping so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that their goaltending issues have been pretty well established over the last couple of years, and where it seems like they've had quite a few guys try to do the job for them, and maybe Hart's the answer. And seeing him in this tournament, I think. Seeing him last year and into this year, I think he's a much better goaltender this year. Not that he was bad last year. He's just a better goalie. I think he's got more confidence. We see the numbers that he's putting up in the WHL this year, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. I think he's still north of 950 on a save percentage. And just and the WHL is a league where there's a lot of goals being scored right now. So to see him do that was impressive. I think his most impressive performance came in the gold medal game. He was tested more in that game, only, gave up the one goal on the shorthanded play, and not a whole lot that, many goalies could do on that. We saw it happen the night before to the U.S. as well with some of those incredible shots the Swedish team had. But I think that he's got this calmness about him, and that's what all of his teammates were raving about, that he was even keeled, just not a problem. Even though there was a couple of instances where other teams tried to rattle him by keeping him on the ice too long in the intermission. I think the game against the Swiss was the most ridiculous one of that, where the backup goalie just kind of came out there and stretched, and it's really important to Hart to be the last guy off the ice, and he waited the other guy out. And so it was kind of a ridiculous thing. But aside from that, it obviously didn't rattle his cage very much, but aside from that, he's just super calm and in between the pipes, and he kept a lot in front of him. He didn't have to make those acrobatic saves because he was just in good position a lot, and he's really technically sound. So I think we've got a really good goaltending prospect in Carter Hart there for the NHL, and certainly for the Philadelphia Flyers. It'll be interesting to see kind of where he goes next, as goalie development is never a straight line, it seems. But we'll have to see what happens for him next.
Perpetuating the story that goaltenders are weird, Carter Hart of Team Canada. Yeah, that was a bit of a strange one. Now, the other strange and much talked about occurrence at the World Juniors was Swedish captain Elias Andersson, who, after being presented with his silver medal, decided he didn't need that kind of jewelry and chucked it over. And it got a lot of attention. It got a lot of negative attention. Some people were really hard on him. I kind of go the other way, that in a tournament of this with such focus and such hype, and there's so much adrenaline and so much disappointment kind of combining for a bad recipe, I think. I don't think there was anything malicious intended with it. I think 10 years from now, he'll look back and probably decide, yeah, silver medal was a pretty good accomplishment. I think it was just a teenager who acted out and did something unfortunate at a bad time.
Yeah, I think, what if he would have just thrown it in the trash afterwards, and away from the cameras,
yes,
and nobody knew about it, but at the same time, I think that was, I talked to him after the game with everybody else. He had a large scrum around him, and just, you look at it in his eyes, and that's a heartbroken kid, because he's been through this a couple of times. Sweden lost the under-18 World Championship, and they got silver there his year. They lost to Ivan Holinka his year in the championship game. They took bronze at the under-17 championship at his age. So he's been through this, and he even told the Swedish media that he already has a silver medal. He doesn't need another one. And I think that watching the way that he carried himself throughout that tournament, he was playing hurt those last two games. There's no question about it. I believe a shoulder injury of some kind. Was playing through it and playing as hard as he could, and as well as he could. And he left everything out there. I think that was, a raw emotional moment. And he came right up afterwards, was free to address it. And he just said that the guy in the front row wanted it more than he did. And judging by the reaction of the guy in the front row, that seems accurate. So, and I think that, it is one of those things where, the symbolism of it, of, throwing your medal over the board is pretty, I think a lot of us would love to be in that position to play for a gold and have a World Junior Championship medal. But I have a hard time being overly harsh on him, because I think that it shows how much that gold medal meant to him and how little that loss is going to, mean to him long term. I think he wants to put it behind him, forget about it, and hopefully, I think he's going to have a long career just based on his character. It's not about throwing the medal over; it's about the emotion that he played with throughout the tournament. That's what's going to stick with me, because he was the absolute leader of that team, and that was a very good Swedish hockey team. And I don't know if they could get where they were without Elias Andersson. So I will remember that over the medal toss.
It seems as though that's maybe the best, that situation and that whole medal tossing is sort of the best indicator of how big and how hyped up this tournament has become, and the kind of pressure that is on young men in their teens to achieve success at such an early age. I mean, it's appointment viewing coast to coast in Canada. It doesn't have nearly the following in the United States as it does in Canada. I'd equate it to March Madness in Canada with the World Junior Tournament. But it shows the kind of pressure that we're putting on these young players at this age. I don't want to say that it's too much pressure, but there's an awful lot of attention, and especially now with everyone on social media and everyone seeing every frame of every aspect that's going on.
Yeah, and I'll say that I think most of these young guys can deal with the pressure. And I think that the way Sweden played in that game, they were with Canada the whole way. A late goal ends it, and then they had an unfortunate miscue that ends up going for an empty netter, and it takes them right out of the game. So, I think right up until that point, they were excellent. They played a great game. They played Canada as tough as anybody could. They were skating with them. They had an opportunity. I thought that we were going to see that one go to overtime. But I mean, it's a late goal, and unfortunately, I think for the Swedish kids in particular, their history in this tournament is carried around with them, and each group feels the pressure to break the trend of being, of frequent losses. I mean, I think this is their 5th silver medal in, like the last 11 or 12 years. They've been in this position before. And I think that's kind of a tough place to be for those kids, because they feel the responsibility of taking away that narrative that the Sweden can't win the big game. And they have gold in 2012, and that's it. They have one other gold medal in their history at the World Juniors, which is crazy because they've been historically one of the best teams there. So it is a lot of pressure, but I do think that most of these guys handle it incredibly well. And I thought there were a lot of young professionals out there, which was always interesting to see.
I agree. I think they do handle it extraordinarily well for their the maturity for their age is incredible. I want to ask you one more, because I want to end on a more positive than a medal tossing. But I want to talk about USA hockey and the steady stream of players that seem to be now going through the system and will be making their way on an even greater basis into the National Hockey League. There were a couple of them that were showing their talents last night. We know about Austin Matthews, the #1 overall pick last year of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who's having another sensational season even after missing a few games with injury. But Brock Besser has absolutely exploded in the lineup of the Vancouver Canucks. 22 goals and counting. I'm not sure how many he's going to get this year, but what a sensation he is. If you don't see them because the Canucks play out west the majority of their games, what a talent he is.
He is an incredible talent. And anybody that says that they saw Brock Besser scoring this many goals as a rookie, I'm telling you, even people at North Dakota did not realize how natural of a scorer he could become. I mean, that's what it seems like. And so, he really has been an incredible talent for years, where the physical tools were there. He had the offensive ability, but to score at this rate in the NHL is a huge surprise. And it is really positive for USA Hockey to have all of these guys really stepping up into big roles. I think, we saw Casey Middlestad at the World Junior Championship, probably the best hands of some of the players outside of the NHL right now. I mean, some of the moves that he was making in that tournament was just ridiculous, and his vision and everything else. And I thought Brady Tkachuk was another one that was great. Kiefer Bellows set the American goal scoring record in this tournament, breaking a record that was held by Jeremy Roenick. I mean, there is a really good group of American players coming, and USA Hockey winning a 3rd straight medal at the World Juniors. That's the first time that's ever happened. They only have 11 medals in their history in that tournament, so they're turning the tide there as well. So a lot of good things, positive things happening for American players, but it's going to be guys like Austin Matthews and Brock Besser kind of setting a new standard for what to be expected for these guys once they get to the NHL.
Good stuff from my friend Chris Peters from ESPN.com. At Chris M. Peters is how you follow him on Twitter. Thanks as always, Chris. We appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Chris Peters from ESPN.com. It was a pretty interesting turn, and the talent level that is coming from USA Hockey it continues to bubble up, and we're going to see a lot of great players coming up in the in the future. I'm sorry I'm laughing because I just glanced at my feed on Twitter, and I mentioned a little bit earlier. I mentioned it yesterday actually that the end is near for Jaromir Jagr in the National Hockey League as a member of the Calgary Flames. And last night, Elliot Friedman reported that the Flames and Jagr were working on an exit strategy. Great HR phrase, an exit strategy. And soon he will no longer be a member of the Calgary Flames. I don't know where he's going to go after this. I don't know what's going to happen. Some have suggested Olympics. It might be a good swan song, but apparently he's done with international hockey. The Florida Everblades East Coast Hockey League team just tweeted out, "We're short on forwards, and Jagr is short on teams. This is a match made in heaven." Hey, you know what? If he comes to Florida and plays for the Everblades, I'll go and see him. That'd be good. It'd be great for them. It'd be great for the league. It'd be good. He can continue playing. Why not? At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. A few other things to get into before the top of the hour. Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, will be with us. We'll talk the mandatory 5-day breaks as well. That's all coming up next.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit NovaProductDesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition here Saturdays and Sundays, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, live at hockeyunfiltered.com and streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Before the top of the hour, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Help in the fantasy world of your hockey pool. And it's going to be a wonky couple of weeks ahead because teams are beginning their NHL 5-day breaks starting today. Today, Anaheim, Arizona, Avs, Dallas, and LA all begin their 5-day breaks. And more tomorrow. Boston, Detroit, Montreal, New Jersey, New York Islanders, New York Rangers, Philadelphia Flyers, Pittsburgh Penguins, Vegas Golden Knights all start their 5-day breaks tomorrow. This is a funny, wonky thing that started with the schedule, and
I get that it's a grind. It's 6 months. It takes a big toll on players. It's physically and mentally draining. And I get that a break is a good idea in both aspects, mental and physical. But I don't know. This is a funny way to do it when you have such a long schedule. I'm just thinking that maybe there's got to be more conversation and more examination of, is there a better way? Most players in the league are going to get 2 breaks because they're going to get their 5 days off, and they're going to get another break with the All-Star weekend. Was it like 50, 60 players that go to All-Star? Everybody else, they get the weekend off. In fact, they get more than a weekend off. Scheduling this kind of stuff is a giant pain in the butt. Last year when teams came out of their break and played a team that hadn't had theirs or was still in the midst of regular season play, most times they got waxed. So this year, the breaks are being scheduled a bit differently. Teams that are coming out of their break will play another team that's coming out of their break. All right, that's a step in the right direction, but this has all kinds of landmines to navigate, scheduling and going through it. Everything has to be negotiated with the Players Association, who take their sweet time about approving anything. See goalie equipment changes. Any sort of discussion like this you have to do with the PA, who just kind of let things blow in the wind. Maybe we need to look at the schedule as a whole. Maybe we need to look at the schedule a little bit differently. There's the 3-day break with the Christmas holidays. There's the mandated 5-day break. There's the All-Star break. It's 82 games over 6 months, give or take a couple of days. There's all kinds of anomalies that happen through the schedule as well because of building availability and only being allowed to play a certain number of games over a certain number of days. You can get away with 3 and 4 days. You can't do 4 and 4 days, that kind of thing. I don't have an easy answer on this one. But with 31 teams, each needing to play 41 games at home and 41 games away, it is a monumental task to do the schedule. You got to think about travel and those logistics. You only have a certain amount of days that are available because of your building. Most buildings aren't just sitting there 365 days a year waiting for you to schedule 41 home games. There's other tenants, there's other events. Building availability plays a big role. The number of games that each team plays. Is there a way that we can look at this and hopefully find a better way to do things? Would it be simpler? Would it be better to give everyone the same 5-day break? Now, I don't know if it's a good idea or not, because you have an all-star break of 4, 5, 6 days, whatever it happens to be. It fluctuates a little bit. So you have that, but not everybody gets the all-star break. So those 50 or 60 players are giving of their time. They're playing in the game, the 3-on-3 pickup game, the skills competition, whatever, but they don't get a full 5-6 day break. Other players do. But it's been negotiated in that every team gets 5 days off. And that means no practices, nobody out on the ice, no nothing. Go take a holiday, go hang out with your family, sit on the beach, do whatever you want, anything but hockey. Would it be better if you gave every team a 5-day break? Do you divide it up by conference? Do you give all the Western Conference teams the same 5 days off? And then do you give the Eastern Conference team the same 5 days off? You could knock this out in a week and a half. Maybe that's a better way to approach it. Again, all this has to be negotiated with the Players Association. I think from a league standpoint, they don't want to give everyone the same break because that, in essence, shuts down your league for a week, something that we have heard an awful lot about when it comes to international participation in the Olympics. So I can see that, well, we don't have a lot of games scheduled because we've got 8 or 10 teams that are in the midst of their 5-day break over the next couple of weeks, but we at least have some games scheduled every night. All right. I guess that makes sense too. But maybe if you could do it quickly. East, you've got the next 5 days off. After that, Western Conference, you've got those 5 days off. There's all kinds of stretches. We've seen teams that have had stretches of 3, 4, and 5 days off already this season. Early on in the season, especially, there were teams that had played 7 games and others that had played 2, maybe 3. There's discrepancies in the standings right now because one team has played 38 or 39 games and another team has played 42 or 43. And over 6 months, it all evens out. But maybe if we can accommodate this a little bit quicker, maybe it's got to be a revisit of how the schedule is put together. At the same time, maybe we could approach it with shortening the overall schedule. I know that's tough, but maybe if you start with the blank sheet, all right, we have this many games, and this is every team is playing 82 games, 41 home, 41 away. Maybe there's a way to do it that you don't have to negotiate a 5-day break for every team. Maybe there's a way to build it in that is not as cumbersome in the schedule or difficult to understand and follow. Hey, it's hard on fantasy teams. You got to be able to look at that. You got to be able to understand that. I understand you don't want to shut down everything for 5 days because, people are going to talk about it and point to the Olympics then. Oh, and yes, I do believe NHL players will be back at the Olympics in 2022. Fully believe that. Bit of a story during the World Juniors. René Facel says it's his mission to get NHL players back. Oh, yeah. It's totally going to happen. There may be some pain and anguish leading up to it because that too will have to be negotiated, but I think it's going to happen. Maybe there's a better way than this 5-day break. Anaheim, Arizona, Colorado, Dallas, LA. They're all into it. Tomorrow, Boston, Detroit, Montreal, New Jersey, New York Islanders, New York Rangers, Philadelphia Flyers, Pittsburgh Penguins, Vegas Golden Knights also join them. It's a lot of teams not playing. It's going to have an impact on your fantasy hockey team. We'll get to that aspect of it next with Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, and whatever else we can squeeze in up toward the top of the hour. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with more after the break. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Pleased to welcome back our regular Sunday visitor at this time, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Steve Laidlaw. He's here with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Steve, before we go too far, we should get you to remind folks about the Dobber Hockey Midseason Fantasy Guide that's coming out this week as well.
Absolutely. It's available in our DobberHockey.com shop. $10. It's going to give you updated projections for the rest of the season. Which players are really good second half performers, which guys usually slow down in the second half, which teams are trending up, which teams are trending down. Some sleepers, prospects who, might get called up from the AHL who can provide a little bit of value, in multi-category pools, guys who are, trending up in terms of maybe shots or penalty minutes, that sort of thing. So all kinds of value in there. $10 helps support the slate.
That's right. Worth the investment if it nets you a bigger gain at the end of the season. All right, let's get to this week's Fantasy 5 from Stephen Laidlaw, hashtag Fantasy 5. Name number 1, Vinny Hinostroza of the Chicago Blackhawks, who's picking up some points on the top line.
Yeah, he really has jump-started the top line with Jonathan Toews and Brandon Saad there. Points in 4 straight, and, they're starting to look really dynamic and generating a lot of offensive chances. And, the story of the next coming couple of weeks is bye weeks. And if you pick up Hinostroza today, you can get 5 games out of him over the next 8 days during a time when over half the league has 2 games or less.
That sounds pretty worthwhile to me. Name number 2 on the list of the Carolina Hurricanes, that would be Teuvo Teravainen.
And again, this is another team that's got a nice schedule coming up for the next week, and Carolina's top line is clicking again. So, we've talked about Sebastian Aho in the past. Teravainen is also scoring at about a 60-point clip on this line. Very dynamic offense. It'd be nice if Jordan Staal offered a little bit more as their centerman, but certainly the 2 Finns playing on the outside are offering a lot. Teravainen's got points in 3 straight games and 7 points in the last 7 games. So that line picking it up again.
Name number 3 on Steve Laidlaw's Fantasy 5 for this week is Adam Lowry. Mark Scheifele is out with injury long term, so he is on the top power play at this time.
Yeah, I mean he's not the most dynamic offensive talent, but he and Joel Armia are offering a little bit of secondary offense on the third line. And then, of course, as you mentioned, he is up on the top power play unit, so that gives him exposure to, Line A, Bufflin, Wheeler, all of the Jets' best. So it's a really good spot for him. We've seen guys take advantage of opportunities to be the net front presence in the past. Lowry's been used in that spot in the past, and he's gone on some hot streaks. So I think, again, this is another player who's on a team that is not facing the bye week next week. So you could pick him up and take advantage of some extra games.
Good. Sorry, I was just picking up Vinny Hinostroza in my fantasy hockey league. Stephen Laidlaw is with us, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. And the name number 4 on the list is Nino Niederreiter, back from injury and providing points.
Absolutely. I mean, he scored a hat trick in his return, and then was held off the scoreboard yesterday. But the hope is that he can help kickstart that top line with Mikko Koivu and Mikael Granlund. All 3 of these guys have not been off to the best starts to their season, as fantasy owners would hope. So, hopefully getting them all back together and healthy will get them going. And certainly Niederreiter's a guy who should be able to score at roughly a 60-point pace and then get you a ton of shots.
And the final name from this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, where we can, we always try to provide a little goaltender suggestion. And Steve's got Carter Hutton of the St. Louis Blues in this week. He's played very well lately for the Blues.
Yeah, he's stealing the show right now, to be honest. I mean, Jake Allen got smashed by Philly yesterday, and before that, Carter Hutton had started the 3 previous games. Right now, I mean, Hutton as a spot starter is probably better than whoever you're rolling out as your number 3 goalie. So you'd almost be inclined to dump your third goalie and just kind of scoop up Hutton whenever you catch wind that he's going to be starting that night.
Nice. Very good. That's the Fantasy 5. He's Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, where you'll get the midseason fantasy guide for just $10. Go to DobberHockey.com to get the latest. At Steve Laidlaw is how you follow him on Twitter. Great stuff, as always, Steve. You can have the next 5 days off, but let's do it again next Sunday. How's that?
Yeah, that sounds great, Todd. Best of luck to you, and maybe you'll do some vinning.
Very good. I'll do some vinning. Thanks, Steve. The 5 names on Steve's Fantasy 5 for this week. Number 1, Vinny Hinostroza of the Chicago Blackhawks, Teuvo Teravainen of the Carolina Hurricanes, Adam Lowry of the Winnipeg Jets, Nino Niederreiter of the Minnesota Wild, and Carter Hutton, who has been stealing starts and playing really well for the St. Louis Blues. It is a busy Sunday. It's a bit of a wonky schedule this week because of the bye weeks that are starting to kick in for a number of teams. Anaheim, Arizona, Colorado, Dallas, and LA start today. And tomorrow, there's a bunch of other teams. After tomorrow, there's going to be 14 teams that are in the midst of their bye week. But today is a busy one. The New Jersey Devils and New York Islanders in an afternoon contest. The Buffalo Sabres, Philadelphia Flyers, 1 p.m. Eastern start as well. Edmonton, Chicago, an interesting game there because Edmonton just got pounded yesterday by the Dallas Stars. I'm curious to see how they bounce back, and Chicago needs to start winning some games. San Jose's and Winnipeg, good matchup. St. Louis and Washington, Florida and Columbus as well. It's a late afternoon, 5 p.m. Eastern start. Vancouver is in Montreal. Chris Tanev will be there, minus a few chicklets that he lost in Toronto last night. Tampa Bay and Detroit. Tampa lost to Ottawa on Saturday. It's a 7 p.m. start. Boston and Pittsburgh. Interesting matchup. An interesting game to watch. That one at 7:30 Eastern. And the late game has the Vegas Golden Knights hosting the New York Rangers. That's a 9:30 p.m. Eastern time start. And that's on the schedule today. And that means for a busy Sunday, but that's by contrast to what is tomorrow, which is just one game. The Columbus Blue Jackets taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. I kind of like that, though. I kind of like the one-game days. Just one game. You just put it on, sit, focus on it, pay attention. You can do sometimes some other things, but you have one game just to watch on, kind of like the Monday Night Football thing. What's ahead this week as I see it? I mentioned that there's going to be a whole bunch of what's been good, what's been not so good stories that will come up this week because we're past the first half of the season. Also expect, now that we're into the second half, what's the rest of the all-star rosters are going to be. Those will be announced in a couple of days' time. There's going to be great players in Tampa. That's what I'm looking forward to. There's going to be who got snubbed stories. Don't bite on the clickbait. Trade talk is going to get louder this week. I think it's some time before anything of substance happens, though. Oh, one thing I do want to mention. In the first half of the season, something that we did not see, 0 coaches in the National Hockey League have been fired in the first half of the season. What's ahead in the second half? I don't think we're going the whole year without a coach being fired. I do expect there will be an NHL coach that will lose his job, maybe more than one, but there's got to be at least one that happens before the end of the regular season. I'm curious to see who it is, and I think some of the names that might start to be kicked around over the next little while will surprise a few people. I'm not anxious to see it. I'd love it if we could go the whole season without an NHL coach being fired. I'm just not sure that that's realistic. Thanks to Stephen Laidlaw. Thanks to Chris Peters. Thanks to Jim Diamond and to Dave Isaac, all for joining us on the program today. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Don't forget about our Little Saturday podcast. You can check it out on our website and on our app on Wednesday. Back again next Saturday and Sunday at 11 Eastern.
The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.